What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Team Solemn Circus live video. Today we have a mirror match with the Ryzeal Fiendsmith on both sides of the mats here. The meta deck to beat this format, we have Ryzeal, we have Malice, we have Fiendsmith, we have some other stuff as well, like the Mizuguri or whatever it's called, the ritual stuff that are being played. But this is going to be one of the most prominent decks you guys end up seeing. Before we dive on in, don't forget to like, comment, share, help the channel a lot. We're on the road to 10K and you guys' support. We are going to be seeing the player on the right side win the die roll, being able to start off with a bonfire. That's going to be good, and we're going to be searching. We are the player on the right, by the way. I believe this was my second time playing the Ryzeal deck. So if there's any misplays, let me know in the comment section down below. I'm obviously trying to learn. We do end up normal summoning the ice going into now the X. X will then allow us to search for the sword, and we can kind of continue our combo off here. Now we do have access to the Fiendsmith line by overlaying up into an Exton Knight, and then going into the Requiem. Requiem's going to activate the effect, and we do not see any hand trap here. Ash would have been a pretty good card to hit at this point, stopping the whole Fiendsmith engine. We do go for the Lacrima, which is a level 4, as well as having the ability to dump the Engraver, and then we end up shuffling back, or we actually end up equipping first for the Princess, and we do activate a track here, and they ask us what else we know. Now, I'm not exactly sure why we end up doing this line, because we end up searching for... Like, we want to search for Engraver. We don't want to discard a card, because like the Princess draw is not the greatest. So we do draw, and we discard into a Nibiru here. Now this time, I don't exactly know what I'm playing against. And then I activate an Engraver searching for a track. This is just so I can get the Princess draw. Now I don't necessarily know if this is going to be a better, because why do you want to draw a better card than Nib going first? We do shuffle back the Exton Knight to summon out the Engraver here, and they have nothing, so we do overlay up now into our Caesar. Now I guess there is a debate where they would nib us on the Princess summon. If we do like activate the track searching for the Engraver. So if they have it, then we'd be able to summon out the Engraver later. Therefore, we can just go up into the sequence immediately, then use that to go up into like a Desiree. So we have like another negate if we wanted to stop a draw if our hand was that crazy. So I suppose that is maybe an option if we had like the track, or we had Lurie in the hand, discarding that, search for the... So I suppose there is like a line where they could have maybe like read that, but we did not have that there. We just want to get a draw, and we ended up discarding the Nib here. We do go now for a Dual Drive. Dual Drive can attach, and we have the Nib, but they have the Veiler as well here, which is going to just be stopping this whole combo in its tracks and placing a fat token onto the field. Dual Drive does not resolve because, of course, we do not have any of the any XYZs to attach to from. And we just set one card and pass on this. And honestly, that's a kind of crazy combo. So like you can see here, 2 hand traps does just absolutely shit on the deck altogether. There's not much that you can do. Now obviously it is going to be paired like Imperm Nib and Veiler Nib, or whatever else you kind of want to have there. But it's going to be quite nice. Now we do see what's in their graveyard and what's in our graveyard here. And they activate a Engraver of their own. It's going to allow us to search for a track and then get up into the full combo here by letting us search for the Lurie and discarding the Lurie, and we all know how this combo goes. So we now see the Lurie go into the Requiem, and on this summon we have the Lacrima in the graveyard as well, which can banish at any time, or put itself back in the deck, summon the Requiem, and then Requiem can then summon it back to the Lacrima, which can then dump the trap. So we do have some lines to play with here, which is pretty important to note. Like, we're not just sitting in the water just dead. But they go for the Fiends of Paradise dumped off the Lacrima because they already have the Engraver themselves. And we are going to go into like the slow grind game of this case. So it looks like here they're going to go into the Princess, and then that's going to allow them to then shuffle back with Engraver, going into a Caesar of their own. So maybe not having access to the Ryzeal lines altogether. But we do have a Druid Swarm here to get rid of that Engraver, to stop that Caesar being made altogether, which is very nice. So we do cut off that engine there, which is going to be pretty problematic if they don't have another way to kind of extend to it. But we do have a talent to rip our hand, and they knew that we had ice and tracked here. So kind of just getting rid of the ice and making us go back to the Fiendsmith engine. And honestly, the Fiendsmith engine is going to be pretty bad for us because of the fact that we have already access to that with the Lacrima and the Graveyard. So we're going to be able to summon out the Requiem, and then Requiem's going to be activating the effect going into the Lacrima. Lacrima can then dump the trap from the deck, making sure we do not want that draw. We cannot afford to draw that right now. And then we have track, and do we have any way to kind of continue this? They do have the princess on the field, which is going to be a dark, and then we take a second to normal summon the sword, and we do imperm that, so we cannot kind of continue. Now, it is a fire, so fortunately they can't go for a Chaos Angel, which is going to be pretty nice, nor can they go up into anything else, because it is a Dark Fiend, a not and Light Fiend, so they cannot go into a sequence. They can go into an IP, or SP in this case, because we're not playing IP anymore. But our board's still we're pretty advanced for them here. And I believe they have no cards in hand, or just one card left in hand. I'm not exactly sure. The cutoff is kind of just, or the Ryzeal X is kind of just taking over there, that spot. So we are in a very good advantage in this position here. We're going to go down to an SP, then SP is going to try to banish, and we're going to banish the token. We are thinking about if we want to chain the Paradise, which we do opt to chain here. And then we're going to be sending the Desiree. Now this is pretty risky, but it can pan out because it's going to make them essentially chain their SP, bring back out. And they do chain it for the Lacrima, which is not going to make that much of a difference here. And we essentially just wasted our trap. So there's definitely no reason to do that there in hindsight. So if they're ever in the state, do not do that. Now we do dump the Agumde, and instead of the Desiree here, but we're going to draw for turn now, hoping it's going to be a better draw. We put the Lacrima in attack position, and we still have the Jerusalem, and now we have the ability, I should say, to go into a Light and Dark Chaos Angel here, but there's not much that necessarily can do. We go battle phase, attack, and then they are going to, and they're going to try to go for a Lacrima, but I don't believe that they, yeah, they're going to activate the Lacrima, they go for the Requiem, and now Requiem's only in main phase, so that's definitely a misplay on their part. I go, you don't have to do that if you don't want to, take some damage. We are preparing for a regionals. I'm not exactly sure if I'm going to take this to regionals. I know that Jason, shout out to Jason, player on the left side, is most likely going to be taking this to regionals here. It's a deck that he's kind of grinding out, so you want to have the best practice in, of course, when you are playing and planning to go for a regionals. So we do think here, now if we end up going for a Light and Dark Chaos Angel, it's going to essentially make it so that they have to have a Light and Dark Chaos Angel of themselves, or they have to make the Agumde here, which is pretty important. So we do go now for a track, and I don't believe they have any cards left in the hand. They dumped the Lurie, some of the Lurie here, and we just can go kind of full combo at this point. We can now go up into the sequence, go up into Desiree, and then we're going to have a negate as well as a Light and Dark Chaos Angel, perhaps, at the end of the turn. Now we go for the Paradise, and that's going to be sending the Desiree to the graveyard now, and then they can activate the Desiree effect to shuffle back, and that can put back either the Lacrima or the Engraver or our Requiem, but there isn't really any good targets anymore for it because we didn't get to go for the Engraver send off of the Lacrima. So we're going to be putting back the Requiem to send the sequence to the graveyard, but we really cut ourselves off here. So we're looking in their graveyard now, kind of seeing what they have. And I believe we have still the Engraver there. And we can shuffle back the sequence to summon itself out. And then we can just overlay up into a sequence once again. Now we won't have the ability to send a Jerusalem here because there is no monster on the field. But we can get to go for the Desiree now, which is pretty nice. And that can put back all three to now give us access to that Desiree. Then we link away for an Agumde, and then Agumde can bring back out that Desiree for a bigger negate, as well as just being a bigger body, being able to attack over the Light and Dark Chaos Angel if they do make it here. So we then go Bonfire, which is now going to allow us to search for an Ice, and then we can normal summon the Ice here, and that's going to be a full Ryzeal combo. So we do have a crazy draw off that there, which we now see X, and they just admit defeat there, realizing the game's going to be over. We have now the Ryzeal combo. They have no cards in hand. They have the Lacrima on the graveyard, which it did. We already put back the Requiem with the Desiree, so we end up taking the win there. There was no chance they were going to be able to make anything off that, and we take game one. Game two is going to be a little bit more interesting because now it's no longer who ended up drawing better. Like we see Talents, Valor, Nib. But we didn't have any of the powerful Ryzeal starters. We had a full Fiendsmith engine, but we had nothing else other than hand traps, Fiendsmith, and then a bit of a Ryzeal engine, which got interrupted with one hand trap. Now, we have a bunch of side deck cards. So we're going to be seeing Crossout being put in. We're going to be seeing like strikes and stuff, potentially. If you're not maining the Bestials, they're going to be in your side deck being brought in and stuff like that. And the game gets a little bit better in this case. I really like these mirror matches. I think they're going to be quite nice. I think that it's skillful as well as fun to watch. So if you guys don't think that way, let me know in the comment section down below. I love the Malice mirror matches as well, unless they're like one-sided blowouts. Now, unfortunately, Ryzeal has a bit... I guess Malice has the same thing with Lancia. Like, whoever opens Lancia or D-Barrier. Now, with Lancia, it's different because you can activate at turn 0, while in this, the favor is really for the person who's going first. So that definitely is not the greatest feeling in the world. But we actually end up Pirelliaing him in the draw phase, hoping that we're going to get a few draws off of this and maybe play through. And then we just normal summon the ice, getting an effect. Just to draw one, as well as the ice going to be summoning out the X from the deck. So you see them actually opt to go for sword instead, which means they most likely have another sword in the hand. And then they go to add the X, and then we're going to be going up into the X-Tone Knight. We're going to activate, well, we're going to link away into the Requiem, which then activates the effect. And we don't have an Ash for this, so it's going to be resolving something with the Lacrima. Lacrima can then up the Engraver, and the combo has started. We've seen this before in the previous game. We're going to equip the Requiem, then we're going to go up into the Princess here. Then we're going to be seeing the Engraver effect, being able to put back the... most likely you want to do the X-Ton Knight, because then you can have the Lacrima as well as the Requiem still in the graveyard. And we do think on this here, do we have a Bestial for this Engraver? We do. We have a Bestial Magnamut for the Engraver there. Banishing that, going to essentially say, we're getting another Bestial next turn. You better get this ready. So now we summon out the Magnamut, the best Bestial that we have, of course. The Engraver line is now shut off, making the Caesar as well as the Sequence not going to be available for us. And we're stuck with a Princess on the field once again. So the Bestials are really good in this deck. As you guys can see, playing the 3 Bestials or even more sometimes is quite nice. It's also good when you're playing Malice. Obviously, if you're playing Malice, then you play the Bestials for your own cards, but being able to Bestial your opponent's stuff is also pretty nice. Then other decks, like, I was playing Christian the other day. You guys have not checked out the deck profile yesterday or 2 days ago, as well as a video from yesterday playing as Ryzeal Fiendsmith. Definitely check that one out as well. But I've actually been opting to maybe side out instead of playing the Bestials, playing DD Crow instead, because I'm playing Cashier Christian, which means that I don't want to have bodies on my field. So when I want to side out, or I guess I should say side into my Bestials, I kind of have to take out some of the Cashier package because I don't want to clog up too much. But if I'm playing DD Crow instead, then it's just like a pretty nice way to kind of to get that, as well as to be able to hit more than lights and darks. So it's like the water deck, which is going to be pretty prominent at our locals and regionals as well. So kind of interesting there to see how that's going to kind of resolve. But I really do enjoy the deck. I'm probably not taking it to regionals. I don't think I've worked it out enough yet. There is some stuff I want to fit in, maybe like more hand traps like Droll and Nib and stuff like that as well. But I found myself kind of breaking with the deck. We're opening up all engine and losing to Lancia or Dweller, so it's not the greatest. But we do see the Ice being summoned and the X being summoned as well, dumping the Aggravator, and we're going to see the Ice sending the Princess to the graveyard, letting us now have 2 level 4s on the field, and the X is going to be able to activate the effect searching for the node, because we no longer control a higher than level 4. We're then going to be able to overlay up into a Dual Drive, which can then activate the effect to attach, and we opt to attach the sword here, and then activating the effect, and we do not stop this. We also got some few draws off the Pirellia as well, because I did summon 2 from the hand, being the X as well as the Ice. So now we have drawn 3 cards here, getting the Magnamut Searcher in the end phase, and we end up searching for the Cross as well as, I think, another Ice. I wasn't exactly sure which one we do see. We do see a Node in the hand as well as a Pirellia. So we're going to be summoning up the Node and getting us an additional draw once again. And then Node's going to activate the effect, discarding the Trap, and that's going to summon out the sword. Now we can go up into the Detonator. Detonator can attach the Immediate Logic, and we do chain a Druid's Worm to this, trying to just stop the attachment altogether. Now they do have the ability to negate with the Cross, but if they negate with the Cross, I don't really care. So we are going to be seeing them just let that resolve, summoning it out. And now the fun fact with Druid's Worm is actually out the Detonator altogether. And then we do try Nibiruing them here, and they do chain the Cross, or end up in the resolution negating with cross. So now they have a 2-mat detonator, and that's going to be pretty much it. Now we can't add with Magma because we have the other Jerusalem in the hand, but they don't know that there. So I do tell them I cannot resolve it, and that's going to be going on with our day. So we have a few options here where we can kind of continue playing. We can like link away into Moon if we wanted to, which would then send with Jerusalem the detonator. We can attempt to go Crash if we wanted to as well, but there's a few different options that we can do. So we're going to go Battle Phase and attack the Duo Drive, and then we're going to be seeing the Jerusalem activate the effect, and they do negate it on resolution with the cross here, leaving them down to just that 1 detonator effect, which is pretty decent for us. So we do have that there. We didn't know that it actually can negate in the damage step because it does not negate the activation, but the way that resolution effects work, you can negate it on resolution at any point of time. Another fun Yu-Gi-Oh ruling. So that's kind of unfortunate for us, but it is what it is. We definitely played a little bit bad not knowing that ruling, but what can you do when you don't know things, right? Knowledge is power, and we just learned something pretty cool. So can't really hate on that there. But we do have lots of cards in the hand, so we do normal summon with the sword, and we activate the effect. They do Valor it here, and we now have a fire in the field, not a light, so we can't even go for that light and dark Chaos Angel, but we do have to kind of think on how we're going to play through this here. So we do link away into a Moon, and then we link that away into the Requiem, and we can pass turn here if we had more Fulroses or Pirellis in the hand, and then we do activate the effect of the Requiem here. They do not change, so then we summon out, pardon me, most likely the Lacrima from the deck, and Lacrima will activate the effect, dumping the Engraver here. And they have 2 cards left and a 1 detonator, so now we're going to activate the effect of Engraver, shuffling back to summon out. And how do we continue with this combo? If we go for sequence, it's going to be popped off of the detonator, but we're still going to get the effect, which is pretty nice. So there is a world where we just go into the sequence here, which we are going to be making, and then we activate the effect. If they do chain the detonator, it's not going to make a difference because we're just going to equip it from the graveyard. So let it resolve there, going for the Desiree. Now we can't activate the sequence effect to equip because then we will pop the Desiree with the detonator. So it is kind of unfortunate for us. We do try to activate the effect here, and they do activate that in response, popping, and they should pop the sequence here because it's a better pop. We know we have a Jerusalem in the hand because we can just link up into a Gum Day here. So that's kind of important that they just should not pop the but they just actually choose to not pop anything. We set 2 cards and we just pass now. Now I'm not exactly sure why we chose not to do that, but it is pretty interesting. Now, we do go normal summon Ice, activate the effect, and we are thinking on that. We can't really Desiree because they can just, chain detonator, popping the sequence, and then we no longer have any negates. So that is kind of rough for us, but we are going to chain here the Desiree anyways. I'm assuming that we have an Imperm set, and then we're going to be going target, and they do negate on resolution with the cross. So now we get to summon out from the deck with the Ice, and then we're going to go Ice effect, or Sword effect. We're going to Imperm this, and we then activate the Cross effect to put back 2, and we activate the targets, but they have Node, as well as, it should be a Duo Drive myself, but the Ice, and we do flip up Fiendsmith and Paradise here, which sends the whole entire field to the graveyard there, other than the Desiree. So we actually open up the trap, and it does come in clutch here, which is going to be pretty nice. And they have 2 cards left in the hands, but they are going to just getting essentially all board wiped, and they just do not put those cards back in the deck. And so now we have a Desiree. Whenever it leaves the field, we're going to be able to put back into the extra deck, which is pretty cool. But I don't exactly know where we go from this. So they just pass turn on this, having hand traps in the hand. And we now have the Desiree and the sequence being able to equip itself. So, and also the Feast of the Paradise Trap in the graveyard now, which is pretty nice. So we do just go battle phase, I believe, and attack with the Desiree, and the grind game now begins. So we don't have that much going on for us, honestly, but we do have the advantage with more cards in hand, as well as having the Desiree. So when we look in the graveyard, kind of see if they have anything going. They have the Trap, as well as the Lacrima and the Requiem, but there's not really much they can do with this. So we're going to see us passing turn, and they do opt, or we don't pass turn, we go end of battle, and they are looking what they have. We have Sequence, which can equip itself, but we now have our Negate back online, but there's not really much that we can do. So we're going to go Lacrima, summon back the Requiem. Requiem's going to activate the effect, and to summon out the Lacrima, we think about chaining Ash if we have it in the hand here, but we're going to let it resolve, and they go for the effect. We chain the Desiree, negating the Lacrima, saying, like, you can't even dump. If you have something else, I don't even know what it's going to be. And then we do chain the Druisworm on the Requiem here. Make it so they don't have access to that anymore, which is going to be absolutely huge. So that's kind of gone now. And then we do normal summon out a Parelia, and we link away into a Moon. Moon. Then we go for Requiem. And we didn't go for Druisworm Send, which is definitely a misplay on our part, but it is what it is. They do Ash the Requiem here, and that's going to just be a pass turn on that. So definitely don't forget your Druisworm effect to send the Lacrima. It's not going to make that much of a difference in the long run, but still kind of impactful. So they do opt to potentially make a Typhon if they play it here, because we did summon 2 from the deck, but it's not going to be that much. If they just scoop it up here, realizing the game is going to be lost.